Hello, everyone, and let's talk about. I wasn't planning on talking about this. I wasn't planning talking about this because I thought this was a done deal, and I thought that you know what, the U.S. is not going to do anything, and Donald Trump is not going to do anything. And the reason I thought that he was not going to do anything is because it didn't make too much sense, right? It didn't make too much sense because, quite frankly, I mean, yesterday I had 5 points. The first point I made was that basically, you know, they didn't accomplish anything with the nuclear damage. You know, how much longer can Israel go at it? They could go for a long time. You know, is there an historical perspective? Yes, there's an historical perspective for Israel to do that because this is a begin doctrine. You know that nobody is allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and you know, and obviously lots of people in Iran made a lot of money to do this thing, right? Billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. They spent $2 trillion. They spent $2 trillion on this thing. So obviously that's a lot of money that they made. Now the question right now is, so and would, you know, did it make sense for Trump to get involved in this war? Well, you know, he gave an ultimatum, but it felt like he was running after the ball, and Israel was doing it. But what's happening? It would appear, and obviously the fifth point that I made was that basically the prime minister is there. The prime minister of Israel is there to make money, or at least is there to remain in power, and that's why he did it, right? But then somehow he managed, or he got Trump to do it. The U.S. actually bombed Iran. This is a huge story. This is huge, people. Why? This is the first time since 1979 when the U.S. gets involved against Iran, and technically against a Muslim country, an Arab country, and who else? You know, who knows how else that's going to permeate through the Arab world, right? And the U.S. says, you know, let's negotiate now. Now that I mean, the U.S. has attacked a foreign country. That's an act of war, technically, right? And my point was, well, no, the U.S. is not going to do anything. Why? Well, because Donald Trump ran on the idea that he is not a war president. He wants to be a peace president. And I guess now they're saying peace through strength. So something happened there. Now, I did say yesterday that there was a fifth ball that I thought that something could potentially get the U.S. involved in this war. And what I did not see is that the ball was actually the fact that the U.S. that the president himself changed his mind and say, you know what, I am going to do it. I am going to attack Iran. And the reason I am doing it is because, I don't know if you've seen his post, he's doing it because Iran has been killing a bunch of people, okay, and Iran basically wants the atomic bomb to destroy Israel. Now, this is what they're saying. Are they actually going to do it? That's a different story. Now, so all these points overall tend to gather the fact that this may or may not be worth it for the U.S. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Now, the next thing we need to realize is, okay, so what do we do next? What is happening right now, right? So what did the U.S. do? Well, last night, basically, airstrikes on Iranian soil. The U.S. launched direct military strikes on 3 major Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities. So to be clear, it's not like the U.S. attack a bunch of Iranian people, right? They just went after the Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities. And the reason, if you could understand that, is because, frankly, so far, even though Israel say we're there to destroy the nuclear thing, they bombed, but they really couldn't do it. They didn't have the manpower. They did not have the ability to actually do it. Okay? So the US went in there and they attacked Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Okay? They used 30,000-pound massive Ordnance Penetrator bunker busting, dropping via the B-2, the B-2 stealth planes, and then 30 Tomahawk missiles fired from submarines. And he declared that this was a very successful mission and completely and totally obliterated. Fordow is gone. Now, that's what he's saying, okay? He's saying it, so we accomplished a mission, we destroyed everything, we are out, thank you very much. Now let's get back to talk about peace. Well, okay, it's just, this is a very important thing because this is the first US strikes on Iranian territory since the 1979 revolution. It's a major escalation in direct American involvement, which is exactly what he said he was not going to do. He said, I am not going to get the US into another war. And I guess he thinks that now that he's done it, we've done it, it's over, this is what the Israeli wanted. Now, I will point out to you one thing, is yesterday, former President Clinton basically said what I told you the day before, right? Take a look at it, 6 hours. Yesterday he said, but I said it the day before. He's basically saying that Netanyahu, the president of, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, by the way, the president of Israel, basically the prime minister Netanyahu, basically wants, the longer they are fighting, the longer he remains in power. Now, this is where the analysis comes in. I'm not here to give you the news, right? You could read it on your own. What I'm here is to explain to you what's happening at the second and third level so that you could make money in the stock market. So what's happening is really, if you believe that what happened is that he really wanted to destroy the nuclear facility and he couldn't do it, and so he told Trump, say, can you help me out? And say, okay, I'll help you out, and then we're done. And say, yeah, once we do that, we stop. But the thing is, Netanyahu is a lot more familiar with the whole area than Trump is, right? In his mind, maybe he's thinking, well, I destroyed the facilities for you, so we should be good. Now, of course, it all depends what the Iranians do next, because now Trump says, peace for all, let's negotiate. The question is, what if the Iranians do not negotiate? Because in the message that Trump told yesterday, there was a bit of a warning signal. There was a warning message. He said, now we have to negotiate, otherwise things are going to get a lot more complicated for you going forward. Not so sure what it's going to mean, because now, are you going to bomb more nuclear facilities? Then who the heck are you going to bomb, right? And that's going to be a problem now, because if you go to the next level, you're assuming that you just say, I got a bigger gun, so you got to stop. Now, what's going to happen is what the Iranians are going to do. You hope that they're going to say, fine, you know what, it was a big mistake, or okay, I'm going to surrender, let's sign, let's not fight anymore. Or, but you have to understand their point of view, right? Their point of view, if they're doing it to basically build another centrifuge because they want to funnel the money to themselves. Remember, my argument, and this is not about anything but making money and staying in power. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to say, no, I mean, what do you want me to do? Give up and fine, I could sign any kind of paper you want, but you're not going to but I'm going to start all over again. Why? Because that's what feeds, that's what's the best kind of marketing ploy I have, is that we're here to destroy Israel, basically, and I need the money to do it, and I need $2 trillion. So let's start all over again, make money all over again. We're never going to build this thing, right? Because we know you're going to stop us. And frankly, we're not going to drop it on anyone because we won't have the time to do it, right? So if you believe that, therefore, what's going to happen next, my friend? It's all business. Yes, Bobby, that's all business. You have to look at it from that point of view. If you want to make money in the stock market, if you don't understand what's happening, you have to look at what's driving the people. If you get into the religion situation, right, then it gets very confusing because then everything is up for grab. The problem is, right, most of the people, right, they're going to think religiously, and they're gonna think nationalistically. You cannot force us. You're not going to force us into submission. We are a proud people. Okay, so what do you think he's going to do? Because now Trump is in it, right? He can't just say, oh, well, you know what, it's not working well. I'm going to give you 2 years to sign the document. Now he wants this thing to be signed right away, right? I think that the argument that you had between Israel and the U.S. was that, well, let's make a deal, right? You bomb them, right? And then we stop, right? And that's it. And Trump is going to be happy because he prevented more bloodshed. And Netanyahu is going to go home and say, okay, I protected Israel. But then he's going to go home and he's going to have the same problem he had before. They're going to say, okay, what happened October 7th? Can we talk about what happened? Because you were on your way out to begin with. So for him, he's going to want it to go on. And how is he going to go on? That's what you need to watch for. Well, it's just probably, he probably knows the enemy. He knows it. I just have to sit there and they are going to do something. They're going to bomb the U.S. And then if they bomb the U.S., then we're back to square one. And so listen, I mean, we did it. And now these people just don't understand. They want to keep fighting, right? Trump, I mean, I didn't know. I mean, and then Trump, of course, because he's in it now, right? He's going to have to respond, especially if they start killing Marines somewhere, right? And then it becomes a big issue. Now, will those people, Iranian, want to fight it out, and get hurt even more? Will they put their people ahead? Remember what happened with Gaza, right? I mean, and the poor Palestinians, right? They're like, oh, hold on, geez, it's falling all over me. I didn't do anything. Well, that's the thing. So the reason I'm telling you all this is not so much to get into the politics of it, because that's crazy. It's just, but how is this going to impact you, right, as an investor, right? How is that going to impact an investor? So let's see what the investing world is doing. While you still want to understand what they're thinking with these people, right? What's really driving them. So basically, if you believe in the rhetoric that at the end of the day, Netanyahu wants to keep fighting and Trump doesn't, but now he's stuck, that's going to keep on going. And I will tell you right now, the market, because the market is opening tomorrow morning, they're saying what's going to happen. Subscribe to the channel, by the way, so that I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about tariffs tomorrow, because I'm assuming this story is going to, we just have to wait at this point. But, so what's happening on Monday morning is basically the S&P kind of the market dipped a little lower, but then recovered, right? After the strike were confirmed, the S&P saw a dip of 0.8%, and as escalating oil prices weighted on sentiment. So the big story is with the oil prices, my friend. Oil prices are up 7% to around $80 a barrel. Okay, so now, after initial Israel strike, then climbed further after the U.S. involvement. So now we are at $80. Now, you have to understand that at $80 a barrel, the break-even price to start digging oil is around $30 to $40. In some countries, around $60, right? So now, will it last? As per Global Pulse is asking, well, it depends what you're thinking is going on in somebody's mind, right? As far as Trump is concerned, this deal is done, right? I did what he wanted me to do. I bombed everyone. Now, why did he decide to do it? Even though there is a risk, some of the MAGA people are pissed at him, right? the far right, the MAGA people, they say, this is let's make America great again. We never say we're going to make Iran or Israel great again. We will make America great again. What the heck are you doing starting this thing? No, I'm not starting. It's the bomb and it stops. But if you know history, right, it never ends there. Right? I mean, look what happened in Iran, Iraq, Syria. It went on and on. And it was happening once you start fighting like that, unless you obliterate everyone, right, like they did in Japan, right, the US and Israel will not win this game war. I mean, they can't even beat a small militant group in Gaza compared to the Iraqi war of Ghana. I mean, that's the point that Saida has, is that, the US hasn't won a war in a while, right? And wars, I mean, yes, in World War II, you did beat the Germans, right? But I mean, they were obliterated, literally, right? The American went in France, they attacked all of Germany, right? Then they bombed the heck of Germany, forget the civilians or whatever, how many civilians died, I mean, you have no idea. And then the Russian went in and carpet bombed the whole of Munich and Germany and destroy. And that stopped them for a long, long, long time, right? Germany doesn't even have an army right now, right? Japan, we stopped them, right? 2 atomic bomb. But apart from that, you think those 4 little bombs, I mean, they're not little, they're big. They was like $200,000 each, $200,000 each, believe it or not. And then the Tomahawk missiles are like several millions. Do you think that that's going to stop it? Well, okay, if you believe that's what's going to happen, looking at history, then the Iranians going to come to the table and say, I'm sorry for what I did. Okay, fine. I am signing, right? I'm going to sign everything, and I'm not doing it anymore. I'm sorry. And then Israel is going to say, okay, great. So now there's no more war. Then we're done. Yeah, we're done. We're not fighting anymore. Oops. All right. So now I got to face what I'm facing, because don't forget, Netanyahu wants to keep this thing going because politically speaking, he was in trouble to begin with. Right? So if you look at history, it's going to go on. It is going to go on. Now, of course, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it. But the point is, there's 250,000 analysts out there looking at this situation, because on Monday morning, they're going to say, we're going to make money, right? And we're going to make money from oil. So oil prices have gone up to $80 a barrel. Now, remember what I said, right? Analysts raise the risk of oil hitting 100, especially if Iran retaliates or target the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, my friends, my subscribers, right now, there's a bunch of ships that are trying to get the heck out of the Strait of Hormuz, because lots of oil is going through this, okay? And if Iran decides to close it, because when I say Iran, so you're not making money for a while, right? You're not making any money, and you have to do something, because if you're the power that be, sorry, I lost you guys for a while. I'm back, right? If you're going to lose this power, what's going to happen is you're going to need to do something. You're going to need to do something. What are you going to need to do? It's very simple. You have to keep fighting, because if you sign this agreement, they're going to come in and they're going to kick you out, right? I mean, Israel is not stupid. They're going to say, well, the same people are in. They're going to, and you hear that everywhere. They want to build it again, which is great. You make more money. No, we want you out. We want regime change. I don't want regime change. I don't want to lose my job. So I'm going to keep fighting. In fact, I'm going to make a big mess out of everything, because I'm done anyway, right? So of course you're going to assume that the people that are smart or whatever in Iran, they want to come back in. Maybe they're going to make a difference. Maybe they're going to fight. So this is not over Monday morning, right? They're not coming to the table anytime soon. Now, oil prices, the oil prices are at $80 a barrel. When the U.S. entering the fray, analysts raise the risk of $100, right? So right now, oil prices are going up. Wow, hold on. What does that mean? Oil prices are going up? That for the U.S., for example, that's going to mean inflation, definitely inflation, right? the oil prices, the energy prices are a very large component of the CPI. So now Powell is going to say that, well, I am not going to lower rates in the U.S. So obviously that's impacting the stock market. I mean, I hate to say that. I'm not going to lower rates, and I am not going to do anything because inflation is going to happen. Look, we're at $100. I don't know if we're not $100, but $80, right? We're like 40, 50 at one point. We're at $80. Okay, that everything's going to cost more money. Everything is going to go up. Inflation is going to go up. What are we going to do? I am not going to lower rates. I'm sorry. And then I still don't know what's happening to the tariffs. Don't forget, the tariffs is August 9th. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. But then what are we going to do about the tariffs? You know, well, the tariffs are working fine. We're not paying any, nothing has been happening to inflation because the reason inflation doesn't move is because no one has passed the prices. But prices are going in. I mean, the U.S. is making $77 billion so far from those tariffs. So somebody is paying that money, right? And they're not passing it to the consumer yet, but they will. So back to the situation that we're in, you know, investors are basically gold and US dollar, so mild inflows, although volatility hasn't spiked sharply yet. So basically the market is probably thinking like some of us are thinking like, okay, well, I mean, we should be done, right? I think Trump got it right. He bombed them, or he bombed the facilities, and therefore we should be done, right? And the market is kind of thinking. Global equity markets beyond the US were mixed. Gulf stocks shrugged it off, while oil importing economies saw modest gain despite caution. So basically, there's a slight drop and persistent volatility. Market outlook depends on further escalation. So if you want to make in the stock market, my friends, you're going to have to pick a side. Are we going to have escalation, or is this thing done? Whatever done feels like. But remember, the implication for the players, right? The inflammation for Netanyahu, the implication for the ruling class in Iran when we mean we are done. Let's get to the table and talk. And then what? I don't want to lose my job. Neither one of these people want to lose their jobs, right? Netanyahu doesn't want to lose his job, and Mullah doesn't want to lose their jobs. So what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to stop fighting? Of course, as usual in those sentences, it's a civilian, and this is the point that, and listen to what he says, which is quite interesting. Bill Clinton, right? Bill Clinton basically said that the people are going to suffer, and he's right. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, right? Now, of course, what's also going to happen is that there is, this is one thing, right? There's also the tariffs that are coming up, August 9th. There is the big, beautiful bill happening in July, right? Somebody should have gone into Trump's office, and maybe they did, and of course they were not listened to, and told them, what the heck are you doing? What, we have to deal with these other things. Now, you realize that you pissed off a lot of the MAGA people, the people that are really voted for you and really wanted you to be a peace president. And now you started us in something. Maybe, maybe not, because if you did, then we're going to have difficulty passing that bill. Subscribe to this channel, because what I do is I talk to you about Black Swan. This is not a political channel. I'm here to decide who's right, who's wrong. I'm here to see how could we make money from this situation, right? I want my subscribers to make money, and the way you make money is that you understand what's happening. Not what they're telling you, not what the news from CNN and Al Jazeera and Fox and all. That's just news, right? They're just telling you what you want to hear. Right? They unfortunately they're biased. These people are biased, right? They're not lying to you. They're not saying something that's not happening, right? It's just that they spin it so that you hear what you want to know, right? If you're on one side, you say, oh my God, the horrible thing he just did. This is terrible, right? And that's what they did. And this guy, but meanwhile, the people that make the money, right? Like, or stay in power, they are the one making it because they understand what's happening, because they are in control of the situation. You need to understand what's going on at the separate level. That's why we need to look for black swan. And right now, my friends, we have several black swans, right? We have the first one we have, obviously, is this war. That's a black swan. Black swan meaning items that are going to impact us and that we're not aware of. Now, obviously, you said, well, we know we have a war. No, you know you have a war, but you did not know, and I didn't know, that Trump was actually going to do it. I mean, I know there was going to be a fifth ball out there running around, right? Besides Netanyahu, besides the Iranian, right? Besides the fact that we couldn't, actually destroy the facilities, right? And I said, well, there's a ball there because somebody starts something, right? I didn't think about Trump because I said, well, he usually does what he says. But this time around, he kind of went off script a little bit, right? And now we have this situation. So that's a black swan. And the reason it's a black swan, the way you could tell, look what happened to the oil prices. The oil prices just shut up because the market said, whoa, I didn't know this was going to happen. Now, of course, you're going to say, really, you didn't know? You didn't know this was going to happen? No, I didn't know either. Okay. The second thing that you need to worry about is about the tariffs. But we know about the tariffs. No, you know that there are tariffs in play and the U.S. is collecting more, and now they're charging 10% globally and 30% for China and Mexico and all that. What you don't know is what's going to happen on August 9th. You don't know what's going to happen on August 9th because then that's when, okay, the 90 days are up. What do we do now? Do we charge everyone 145% like we said we're going to do? Or we keep postponing it? And also, what's going to happen, Canada right now, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, but Canada right now, what Canada is doing is that they're saying, listen, we're paying more than before. All right, let's discuss, negotiate, but unless we stop negotiating, I am going to start doing reciprocal tariffs. So there's a big black swan there as well. Right? The other black swan that you need to be aware of is number 3, right? Number 3 is the national debt, which is at $37 trillion. Why am I talking about this? Because this year alone, we need to refinance $9 trillion. Right? And if we can't find that money this year, the U.S. is in big trouble. Now, of course, they're probably going to buy back or whatever, but that impacts a lot of things. That impacts a lot of situations. So you have several black swans that are running around, right? And say they have already won. Why do you think Iran is begging the UN for help? Well, what it is, they want to negotiate. Basically, let's put it this way: they want to keep their jobs, right? The Iranian class, the mullahs or whatever, they want to keep their jobs, right? So they don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to have to give because a negotiation could be okay, fine, we'll negotiate, but then you're going to need to let other people rule the house, right? No, I don't want to do that. Well, then we don't have a negotiation here. Then basically what? You're going to go back in and you're going to spend another $2 trillion and we're going to start all over again and you're building another bomb and then we're going to keep on and on and on. Now, of course, I will tell you one thing, my friends, that why do we have wars all the time? Don't we learn anything? No, we don't, unfortunately. And that's a problem. Right? You would think by now that you would know how to avoid wars. But unfortunately, we do not learn. We do not learn what's happening, right? And the reason we do not learn, and let me get a little bit philosophical here, is because the human brain, the human body, yourself, are made for self-preservation, meaning that you are trying to spend as little energy as possible. You're not Yoda, right? So basically human beings, and that's with emotions and everything else, what we do is we try to basically make sure that we don't spend too much energy, like spending 3 months deciding, should I What should I be doing? You don't have time for that, right? You just react. Your brain tells you this is what's happening, and emotionally you react. And that's why there's always wars. That's why there are always divorces. Why people keep divorcing all the time, right? Because they don't think. But you don't have time to think because that's spending a lot of energy, and you don't want to spend that much energy. And this is where a channel like this is important, because it gets you to think a little bit as to what is going on, right? The war is going to be the tariffs the national debt is a problem, right? And you need to look for all of those things, those black swan that are going to impact you physically, hopefully not, but also in terms of making money, right? So that is a problem. Now the question is, so the U.S. bombed, right? Those facilities, because then Trump said, "That's it, we're done. We are done." Okay, are we done? Right? The U.S. bombing sites in June 25 may have temporarily delayed the nuclear progress, but experts widely agree it risks strengthening and accelerating the Iranian nuclear ambition rather than deterring them long term. Right? So, what are we saying? Well, basically, we're saying is you may have delayed them, but you haven't stopped them. No. Trump said he destroyed everything. Well, I don't know if that's a fact. I don't know if we destroyed everything, right? Trump says so, but then he says lots of things, right? So now we want to sit and negotiate an end to this. What does that mean exactly? Right? They're going to come in, all of them. He's going to come out of wherever he is, and his people are going to come out. They're going to go to Geneva, and they're going to say what? We are never going to build a bomb again? Although they say, but we never did build a bomb. We just wanted to, although IAEA said that, you're having a lot of material for someone for just peaceful purposes. Not that we could prove that you want to build a bomb, but you had certainly all the elements of it. So they're going to say, okay, fine, then come back to the AEA, right? Come back and then, right, inspect what we do. But we went through this story before, right? So if you're Netanyahu, what you want is you want them out. These people are not going to lose their jobs naturally. They're not going to say, okay, you know what, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm not doing anything. No, they're not going to do that. And so when we look at the U.S. deployed the bunker busters to penetrate heavy fortified sites like Fordow, but analysis suggests only temporary disruption. There's no elimination. There's no elimination there, people. So this is still not done. And that's a concern, because what we're going to do, we're going to need to understand what's next. And what's next that's the key, because right now the market is kind of like where we are today. The market is saying, I don't know, it's too soon to decide. The problem is like investments. If you don't do anything, you're doing something. Meaning what? Well, you're missing an opportunity to make money. And right now, what we know is our prices are going up naturally. Stock prices are kind of hovering around, not doing much of anything, waiting for what they think is happening. So as we're thinking like that together, there's investment, and I was in investment committee before. I was sitting in a room and we decide, okay, what's going on? What's happening? How do we make money from that, right? Because don't forget, all these things have implication, right? Don't forget that, number 4 in terms of our black swan is inflation. And number 5 is recession. What do I mean by that? Well, you have to understand that if oil prices come down, which they did, right? They went up when Israel did its thing, and then it kind of went down. But now Trump did his thing, and I went back even further up. Because now it's like you're slapping someone back and forth. They're saying, listen, this is starting to hurt now, right? I thought we were done, and now you're starting something new. I know that you want to believe that this thing is going to be over with. I am not so sure. I am not so sure that this thing is going to be over with. The second thing you have to worry about, the fourth thing you have to worry about is inflation. Well, you cannot have that high oil prices and have no inflation. So that's going to be impacting the stock market. Why? Because with inflation going up, right, what the US needs to do, what the Fed needs to do, they need to raise the interest rates. As they raise the interest rates, the number, our other black swan, which is number 3, the national debt, right, which right now we're paying about 2%, at some point when it gets refinanced, is going to turn into 4% on $37 trillion. And the US is spending about $1 trillion every year right now. So now the inflation goes up, rate goes up because I need to fight that inflation. But, I mean, the Fed is not going to raise rates, right? Well, let's see. Because if you stay at $100 for a long time, that's going to permeate through the numbers. And then the Fed is going to say, I told you so. That's the reason why I didn't want to lower rates. And on top of that, on August 9th, all those so-called tariffs are ending, right? And the Trump says after that, we're going back to where we were before at 145% or 50% for some of the countries, unless you're the UK and maybe China, because we don't have any other deal right now, right? So now all these things are going to come together. So the longer this war lasts, it impacts oil prices, which impacts inflation, which impacts the rates, which impacts the national debt, which impacts the ability for the US to keep going. And if on top of that, the US is actually fighting a war and having to spend money on weapons they don't have, do you see what I mean by a black swan? I mean, it's there, right? You could feel it. Hey, homie. Gangy. Hi. Right? You know what's happening. You know there's a problem. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, I'm in India. What do I care? You have to care. First of all, the tariffs are going to impact you when that thing goes back up 145%, right? If the US is in a recession, they're not buying anything from you, right? In addition to that, Pakistan is not too far from India, right? And what was happening is as we were moving everything over from China, because that game is over. Yeah, the Chinese game, meaning that we're going to keep doing business with China. I don't think that that's going to happen, because quite frankly, the deal that China has been doing with the US, right? Let me tell you what the deal with China is right now, right? The China truth, right? So in mid-May, Geneva Framework posed triple-digit tariffs for 90 days, and so China commit to resuming export of rare earth. These are the stuff that goes into weapons. These are basically, like rocks, but they are more like rare, and they're used to make weapons. They are used to make iPhone. They're used to make a lot of things. And China said, okay, fine, let's do it, right? And to follow, in June, they finalized the details where US tariffs are going to stay at 55% and China reciprocate with 10%. So basically, the Chinese are paying 55% tariffs and the US is paying 10%. AM says, do you think this then force a ground incursion to secure certain assets and allow for quick government transition? And if so, would they risk considering this may be a draw in Iran? Oh my God, I hope you're not right. I don't even want to go there, right? But technically, if they want to stay on the ground and they say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not losing my job. I am not losing my job. I'll take everybody down with me if I have to, because what you want me to do, which is basically allow other people to come in, regime change, right? Those people that are Iranian that are all over the world, and they come, bring them back and let's have a democracy or whatever. No, I mean, I guess the U.S. could start carpet bombing everything, right? And that's the idea. Can you win a war? Can you win a war through the air alone? Can that be done? Well, they tried that with Iraq, but they had to get there eventually. There is no way. In fact, in Congress right now in the U.S., the Democrats and some of the Republicans also, they're saying, listen, we got to rein in this guy. He's going to get us into a war with Iran or whatever else is happening. We can't deal with this right now. Don't you realize we have a bunch of black swans running around? So basically what's going to happen is, so the Chinese export to the US dropped 34% in May, even after tariff reductions begin. China is grappling with deflation and weakening consumption, making it heavily reliant on favorable trade outcomes. Now, the reason why China is dealing with the US, not because they want to sell the US the rare earth, is because they're suffering. The Chinese are suffering because suddenly we were there and then we were there. You see, where's this guy? Joking? We had a deal going here. You know, you keep buying our stuff, we keep making it. So what is this thing now, 55%? My people aren't happy, you're pissing me off, you're coercing me in making a deal. You gotta be careful now, because, you know, on top of everything else, I have to say that I do have another black swan, which is potential Chinese taking over Taiwan. So to answer Adam questions, it's very, very, very unlikely that the US is going to get ground troops and get the mullah out of the ground and put him on trial and then grab a bunch of people from around Iran and then have them vote for a new kind of committee to do a regime change. I mean, I'm sure Netanyahu might like that, but that's going to take months. And people are going to die in the process. So I think that is a problem that is happening right now. So, and the Chinese, a 90-day suspension on triple-digit tariffs expire around mid-August, right? You have to watch for the implementation timeline, the timelines of the 55% US tariff and 10% China. But the rare earth remains a hot button issue. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. But basically, there are lots of issues with China that needs to be dealt with. And you need to understand what is going on. Because if you don't, my friends, then number 6 is China / Taiwan. So what do we have? As issues you need to start worrying about that's going to impact the world. 1, this war that's going on right now. You know, what's happening, who's going to win, when does it end, is the US getting involved, is the US not getting involved? My take on that is I think Trump is done. I mean, he used his bullet. If it doesn't work, then he's going to have to let Netanyahu deal with it. Now, of course, if he doesn't, then we're in a whole world of hurt, I have to tell you. 2, the tariffs. The tariffs are ending August. And this is what this channel is about. I am telling you the issue that you need. I'm not telling you the news. You could do that on your own. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You have to subscribe to this channel, so at least I come to you and explain to you what's happening at different levels. You need to understand what's happening for you to make money and hopefully help you out. The third thing is a national debt. There's a huge amount of national debt that needs to be paid this year. 9 trillion. Where are you going to find the money? The US doesn't have $9 trillion in the bank. They're going to borrow more money. I don't think they're going to get it from China. Then we have the problem with inflation, which is being made. We have a problem with inflation is because the Fed did not lower rates. And the reason they didn't lower rates is because they keep telling you, we may have inflation here somehow. 5, a recession. All these things are happening, right? These people, the war, inflation, Trump, the fighting. You know, if you have a business in the U.S., you say, okay, wow. I mean, they're doing what I'm doing. They're saying, well, do I need to spend the money right now? Is this something I need to worry about right now? What should I be doing, right? 6, and that one is a doozy. Because frankly, if you want to start something with the U.S., maybe now is the time to do it because the U.S. is busy doing a bunch of other things. But then what would China do with Taiwan? I mean, yes, it belongs to them technically. That's what they're saying. But is this really a reason to fight? Not really. They're not going to get gold out of the Taiwan thing. But if you're coercing China too much and you're pissing the people, because China is, like I said before, is having some technical issue internally, right? It's not really paradise over there, right? I'm talking about economically. I'm not talking about the livelihood of the people. There's things happening in China that you need to worry about if you're Chinese. And if you're going to lose your job, then, my friends, you need somebody to blame. And if it gets that bad, I don't think it's that bad yet in China, but you keep pushing and tugging, at some point they may say, you know what, we need to resolve this. And careful, because that one, number 6, the China-US tension, is a bad one. We're not fighting the Iranians here. China has potentially a better, more equipped army than the U.S. No, that can't be. Trump says that, well, hold on. The U.S., technically speaking, needs the rare minerals for the missiles. And you know where they get this stuff? They're getting it from China. So we have to worry a lot about this situation. You have to worry a lot because that could give rise to a real problem. And the real problem is that China needs to take the people's mind off their problems, which means they don't have jobs because the U.S. is not trading with China anymore, and they're overtaxing them with, you know. So that's going to be a problem. So you're going to deal with a war in Iran. You're going to deal with inflation in the U.S., potential recession plus inflation, which is called the stagflation. That's not me saying it. It's the head of the JP Morgan, the CEO of JP Morgan is worried about stagflation. So you're worrying about stagflation. You're worrying about the war in Iran. You got the tariffs going. And then you have to deal with your debt. And then you have a war or some kind of interaction with China. What do you think the stock market is going to do? What do you think the market is going to do? So right now, as investors, okay, I'm not going to make specific stock and recommendation, but I wouldn't start going around trying to pick stocks right now. You have a portfolio, you better prepare it. You better prepare it for some downside. So how do you do that? Well, you have options you could work with. I wouldn't sell shorts, that's too dangerous. You could buy long dated options. They're probably still very cheap right now. And when it's very cheap, it's very good, right? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm giving you gold right now. Gold investment advice from a professional portfolio manager, right? And I'm doing it because I want to teach. I want people to understand what's happening. And if you look at my channel on YouTube called Black Swan, I've been doing it for quite some time. Take a look at my videos. Take a look at wherever I travel around the world. trying to explain to people that the way you make money is by understanding the players and reflecting as to what's going on, not reacting, right? Because right now, what is buy gold? Well, yeah, but everybody's buying gold, and gold is very high right now. Gold, believe it or not, is probably your best investment. Now, if we take a very quick look at what's going on in markets around the world, right? Right now, if I look at commodities and I look at crude oil prices, we are now at, the Brent is at almost $77. It is up 4% this week alone. It's up 20% for the month. Year over year, it's still down. Okay, so we don't have a problem with oil yet, but you don't want it to stay like this. You don't want it to stay at $77 for a long time, because the longer it stays like that, statistically speaking, it starts hitting on the GDP of a country. It starts hitting you eventually because it's expensive. I mean, yeah, if you're an oil producer, you're making money, but oil goes into everything, unfortunately, right now, right? It's becoming more and more expensive. And the more expensive it gets, the more difficult it gets to get rid of it. So that's what's happening. Now, as far as the markets, and we'll see what happens Monday, but basically, the market year over year, well, okay, let's talk about year to date. The US is not making any money. You have Germany that's making money, Italy is making money, and Spain is making money. And I think Portugal, right? Oh no, Brazil, I'm sorry. So maybe the US is not the place to be. And that's why the MAGA people are basically a little pissed right now, because they're saying, listen, this is not a game show, Donald, right? We got a lot of things going on. Was this really the time to get in there and start kicking butts? I know the rationale, right? You want to help Israel. But of course, one thing you need to understand, for you to make any kind of money, you cannot listen to what they're telling you, right? It's like the people treat you like children, right? The people at certain level, the people with the power. It's like you're talking to a child, and the child says, is there, mommy, daddy, is there Santa Claus? You're not going to say there's no Santa Claus. You're not going to tell that. You're going to say, well, yeah, but how come Santa is able to come to all these houses the same night? That's a lot of work for one person. Well, he's got helpers. Oh, so he goes into the chimney. Yeah, you see what I mean? So that's how I feel when I look at the news, because I was on the other side, with the second and third level underneath. And I knew that this is what was really going on. And what they tell the people is what the people want to hear, right? They want to tell the people what they want to hear. And I guess the more people listen and they feel that they understand, and then they say, okay, fine. But at the end of the day, you're not controlling anything, unfortunately, right? You're not out there with Donald Trump telling him, hey, do this or don't do that. Even himself, sometimes you're not so sure if he controls it, right? Because remember, within the Trump administration, you got two camps, like I always said. You've got the core guys with him, guys that went to jail for him, like Pete Navarro, right? And his security advisor as well. I forgot the name of the guy, the bald guy. If you remember, you could tell me. I'll tell you if that's a guy. He's about immigration, right? Kick all the foreigners out of the country, the illegals at least. Then you've got the Pete Navarro, and Pete Navarro is like the tariffs. Make the America, a fortress America. They want to trade with us. They're gonna have to pay. Bring the business back. That. Then on the other side, you had Elon Musk. Let's save some money, guys. Let's save some money. Let's not spend too much money. Let's be as efficient as we can, right? And then you also have the Treasury Secretary, Rubio, very mild, out there trying to be as understanding and not too forceful, but yet not too weak. And then you have J.D. Vance. I mean, these are quote unquote smart people, right? You may not like what they're talking about, you may not like that, but these are smart people. I mean, Elon Musk is a smart man. Okay, you can't deny that. So you have two camps, right? And they were talking to Trump. You heard the tariff situation, see where it went with these guys, and then you heard the thing about the immigration. The only problem with the immigration, it's not really working, right? It's not working because they can't find enough people, and it's pissing a lot of businesses, and you're not going to get rid of 11 million illegal aliens from this country. I mean, they're working. They're not just hanging around, you know. Most of them are working, right? They just want to get a job. Most of them. Some of them are bad, yes, but like in everything else. But most of them, you know, want to work. And then, of course, Vance said to Europe, and it makes sense, you know, protect yourself. Forget you. I'm not here, Uncle Sam, to protect you forever. Oh, okay, it's a little disappointing because we thought we were friends. Okay, that's what you want. So, so now, who is he listening to? Because now, the new one is obviously with Israel and Iran, because now Trump got involved into that situation. Did he do it on his own? No, when he came out yesterday and he was talking, he had behind him, you know, the Secretary of Defense, he had the Vice President, and he had the Secretary of State, which is like the Foreign Minister. Now you have to understand, I'm sure you know that by now, but Vance and Rubio, obviously, I mean, Trump is 79, right? They're thinking, hey, wouldn't it be nice if I was president? So they will not get into very strong, they will do what Trump wants them to do, but they're not going to go like, no, we got to do this now, like Pete Navarro is doing, right? It's kicking 145%. They'll come around. They will listen to, right? So that's the situation that you have with these guys. You got to be extremely careful, right? So in the middle of all this, you, my subscribers, and don't forget to subscribe. I need to see subscription. You have to keep going. All you have to do is click subscribe or whatever, and then you're going to find out what I'm doing. I'm giving you gold here, by the way. This is gold information. Not that I'm giving you the news, because you could get that all the time. What I'm giving you is the ability to understand what is happening, right? I also have a channel, a Patreon channel. It's free. It's free. Listen to it. I'm showing all the trades that I made. Like I made lots of money last year with Trump and Tesla. Lost a lot of money. Then when Tesla suddenly, for some reason, people did not like Elon Musk anymore, right? Because of what he did. So the point is, you need to, if you're going to be in this world, you need to understand what is happening. It is crucial for you to understand what's happening. And right now, my friends, I hate to say it, but we have a situation happening, and we have several black swans. And you need to be concerned about black swans all the time. You need to identify them. And you know, this term that I keep using, black swan, where does it come from? Take a look at the name Taleb Nassim. Taleb Nassim made a lot of money by identifying black swan. Not by looking for the next NVIDIA, no. He made a lot of money. And what he wrote a bunch of books, by the way. And one of the things that he said is what I told you, the fact that, you know what, how come we keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over again? Why do we have divorces all the time? Why do we have war? And you could see, right, what's happening right now. But what he said was, you need to know the things that you don't know. But he wasn't the first one that said that. The first philosopher, Socrates, said the most famous thing, and Socrates used to live like, you know, way before Jesus Christ, right? He said that I know and I don't know. This is deep, believe it or not. Because if you know that you don't know, for you to make money in the stock market or anywhere, you need to be able to identify the black swan, the stuff that no one is talking about, right? And then it comes, and then it hits, and then it impacts you. And if you're not prepared, for example, COVID, Taleb Nassim and the hedge fund with whom he works for, Universa, they made 4,000%, right? Not by picking stocks that would do well in the COVID. They made 4,000% due to the amount of options. I don't know if you know what an option is. Basically, you're buying the right, well, go on Google what an option is, right? And basically, he bought a bunch of long-dated options. Like, he bought the option to make money in 2 years from now. He bought the options to make money 2 years from now for not much money. So if nothing happens, you don't lose much. But if it does happen, which is very unlikely, then you make a lot of money. And what he bet is he bet the house on. No, he bet not the house, but he bet the options on the fact that that basically the country would be closed, and there would be a huge amount of issues with people working, and with the supply chain and all that. And of course, impacting the stock market. And this is exactly what happened. And he made 4,000%. So once you make 4,000%, when the average stock portfolio makes about 10%, 4,000%. Imagine how many years of earning. And this is what Taleb Nassim said. He said that basically you need to be able to identify the things you don't know, which is exactly what this most famous, the first philosopher Socrates says is, I don't know. I know that I don't know. You need to get up in the morning and realize you know you don't know. A day ago, I get up in the morning and say, I know that I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what's happening, but I know that I don't know. Like I told you, I made a video. I said, Trump is not going to do anything. Obviously, why would you do something? Why would you bomb those facilities? Because that's going to involve, I know why you would do it, but the problem is the implication of it. Now you're in it. You broke it, you own it. Now you're bringing the country. Unless you think, no, I'm a soldier, I'm going to go in, I'm doing this, I'm cutting it off, and I'm gone. Let's see if you're gone. Let's see if Iran doesn't do anything. Let's see if any other country in the Gulf, right? Because now, if you're Muslim and you're a radical and you're seeing this, you're saying Israel and the US are destroying Muslim brother. And you're not going to do anything. Not one little guy. Although I think there have been a few, let me check for you, but I want to see if there have been, have there been issues in the world. Let's make it really big, right? Tied to attacks on, let me see, since the attack of Iran. I am pretty sure that I read something not too long ago about that. So all we need is a couple of attacks here, a couple of attacks there, and before you know it, you're in it. You are in war. You are at war, right? Then you have to deal with everything. Then, when did that happen? In Paris, there was synagogues, UK, US, Jewish community called in VK. Fatal shooting happened in Israel embassy not too long ago. The bombing has triggered a notable rise in anti-Semitic activity worldwide. Jewish communities on a high alert. They're bringing the Jewish people back to Israel. I mean, This is sticky. This is sticky kind of situation. I don't know who's advising Trump. I guess he wants to be a friend of the Jewish people, but somebody should have told him, listen, you got a lot of stuff to deal with in the U.S. Maybe he wants to show the might of the U.S. Now, of course, don't sell Trump too short, right? Don't think, because you don't understand it, this is stupid. Look what happened with the tariffs, right? We said, what is he doing on the 45%? This is crazy. You're killing the stock market. You're doing this, you're doing that. I hate to tell you people, but right now, the U.S. has increased the amount of money, actual money it's taking from the tariffs by almost 81%. Last year, because the importing, the money that was coming from the U.S., from tariffs were almost nothing. But this year, it's a lot, 80% lot. So you may like Trump, you may not like it, but right now money is coming into the coffers, $71 billion. And in fact, if it keeps on going like this for the next 10 years, we're talking $2.5 trillion. Now, of course, you're gonna say, well, hold on. Yeah, but don't forget, in July 9th, this whole thing ends. I mean, August 9th, and these countries are not going to sit there like Canada that's being charged, I think, 35%. They're going to say, okay, whoa, hold on. We're not going to keep paying that. We're going to do some retaliatory tariffs. We're going to start charging you, right? And that's when the rubber meets the road. But right now, even if Trump doesn't do any deal, he doesn't sit with anyone, and everything stays the same, 81% increase. So maybe, just maybe, he's got a rationale behind what he's doing, and maybe it is working. Maybe at the end of the day, we're going to be able to do it. But we just entered a whole new world of hurts here. A whole new situation is developing. And that, my friend, that could be a problem. So what we're going to do this week, thanks to the heart, my friend. And don't forget to subscribe. Always, you have to subscribe. Okay? Because the more people I have, the more I get to understand what it is that you're looking for. My goal is to essentially educate you, not give you the news. You could read the news. Is to educate you as to what is really going on, meaning we are here to analyze a situation, because you cannot make money if you don't understand what is really happening, okay? And that, my friend, is important. So you subscribe. The more subscribers I have, the more likes I have, the more I'm able to cater. This is gold information I'm giving you, right? This is not it's not free. Obviously, I want something for you. I just want some views and some subscription. That's what I'm looking for. But I'm going to be dealing with really main topics going forward, right? I'm going to deal about the national debt crisis. Explain to you, because right now we have to refinance that thing. Remember what I told you? We're going to talk about the tariffs. We're going to talk about the truth about the big, beautiful bill that's coming. That's July 4th. That's July 4th. I don't know how the bill is being impacted with what Trump did, because a lot of MAGA people are pissed, and they may use that opportunity to say the guy doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. Did you fall for the vaccination? Yes, I did. Well, I had to fall because I had to travel, and I could not travel without the vaccination. That alone, I mean, if I had my channel at that time, I would have done a damage, because now the real stories are coming out. What was really going on underneath. And I have to say that I did take the shot. I didn't have too many reactions, I have to say. But my concern was at some point I did have some heart problems, okay? But I was a bit overweight. So I'm assuming this because of that. I don't know. I am not sure. But what I did, and that's something that I recommend to lots of you, what saved me and what is helping a lot, and I'm going to start again, The guy started fasting, right? I know it's fasting, and I know that in India it's done a lot and in Muslim countries. Fasting is very good for you, okay? Fasting, basically what you're doing, yes. Well, it does help. I lost 30 pounds fasting, right? Basically what you do when you're fasting, I'm talking about like you don't eat or drink or anything for like at least 12 hours, but I mean 12 hours is nothing. I'm talking 16, I'm talking 18. Right now I'm on a 23-hour fast. But the thing is, once you get past 23 hours, the body basically goes in and eats itself. It eats itself, and it does a bunch of different things, and it's going to be good for you. Anyway, my friends, don't forget to subscribe. I will be back all next week because we have lots of issues to deal with, and I hope that you're all well, and